What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 30 Minutes of Hell podcast. I am your host, Brandon Baker, joined as always by Joey Jackson and Matt Jackson. Reminder, we are brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Twitter, wherever you get your stuff at, under the Field of 68 and under 30 Minutes of Hell podcast. It's been a while since we've talked. It's been a relatively slow stretch of the off season. Musselman Musselman. Musselman left a long time ago.
See, well,
Calipari,
hold
it's
on.
been so
Time out.
long.
Time out. Brandon has been playing too much college football. His brain's not in podcast mode. Let's just
Yeah,
preface that. We've all been on the grind getting the Razorbacks to a natty. So now let's refocus on basketball. Brandon,
you're
get
right.
your head back in the game.
I've got college recruiting on my mind. My off season is not going well in college football 25. So, anyways, Calipari got to his 9 players that he wanted on this roster, the 9 core rotation guys, and things have kind of slowed down from there. We've seen a couple more guys fill out this roster for this year. And full transparency, we're recording this a little early, but by the time you listen to this, they should have their first commit for the 2025 season. Darius Acuff is making his decision, and by all accounts, it looks like he's going to be a Razorback. So we're going to be talking about him a little bit today. We're starting to get some practice footage from the guys, summer practice, and a lot of motivational speeches from Cal. That's fun to watch and be a part of. And then the NBA offseason, which is one of the best off seasons in all of sports, is going on. Free agency is kind of at a standstill there too, but the NBA draft has already happened, and we're going to kind of dive into a little bit of how it has affected some of the pro hogs and maybe new situations that they're in, how they're going to be affected this upcoming season. So let's get right into it. The news of the day should be the news of the day. Please don't jip us again. Darius Acuff is going to be a Razorback next season. He's currently ranked as the #1 point guard in 2025. I believe the #8 overall recruit in that class. Just an elite guard, man, an elite shot maker, more of like a scorer type of guy that can do it all off the dribble, off the catch, more so than maybe someone you would consider to be like a pure shooter. But it, and because of that, he's such a good, tough shot maker that sometimes he like settles for tough shots, but it doesn't really worry me at the high school level, right? High school guys do that. They're the best player on their team. Sometimes they just take and miss tough shots, but he takes and makes a lot of tough shots. And I'm really excited to see him, transition to the next level and then beyond that. Um, a lot of good things to say about Darius Acuff. How are you guys feeling about him? Hopefully, potentially, should be committed to the Razorbacks. How are we feeling?
Yeah, dude is he's good. Just plain and simple, he's very poised for a high school scorer. Um, I feel like a very important trait that doesn't get talked about a ton for guard play is the ability to control your speed, like kind of your stop and goes, and a lot of times you think it's just downhill, like as quick as you can. And something that I've noticed he's really good about is controlling that speed. He'll hit a really quick dribble move and then he'll kind of blow by a little bit, slow down once he gets in the paint to kind of draw the defense in, and then hit a quick floater. Like he's just, for a high school player, really talented at doing that. And I think being so young and being able to do that is going to go a long way, especially in the college game. Um, Something that I noticed is, like, if you take away that like kind of raw athleticism, because he's not an elite athlete, like he's not going to go and jam on somebody. He plays a lot of his game below the rim. But I see kind of shades of Derrick Rose, maybe Darren Williams, just kind of that, again, that ability to change speed and get past your defender using just what you have naturally to your advantage, is going to go such a long way. Um, he also reads the offense really well as a defender. So in some of the clips that I was watching of him, he would be on ball defending and he'd get a deflection. I think he reads eyes very well. I think that he has the talent and the capability to be, really good at the next level. So I'm excited for that. I think that it'll be great.
Oh yeah, you pretty much mentioned it. His first step is phenomenal. He has a very quick burst of speed off the first step. But I think one thing that is going to really make him stand out as he grows is going to be just his frame, how he's built, and on the defensive end. We mentioned like his offensive IQ is so good that it helps him read defense, play defense a lot better. But I think just his frame, I mean, 175 pounds, 6'2" guard, he's going to be really solid defensively, especially if he just continues good physical defense. And that's one thing you don't see people talk about too much of these score first guards is their defense and their defensive capabilities. So I'm excited to see how he transitions once he gets into college because, most of these guys coming in have been their high schools or their AAU teams or whoever's go-to guy. And so I'm excited to see what he does to help the team in other ways other than just be that score first guy because there's no telling who we get in this 2025 class.
Yeah, it could stack up to be a good one. I know they're in on a couple of high profile guys. Cal will probably pull together maybe 3 or 4 freshmen in this class. He's a great one to start with, though. And you guys really hit the nail on the head with a lot of stuff. I love kind of what you brought up, Matt, that he is very strong for his size. He's listed 6'2", 6'3", depending where you look, but he's strong. And he's not just like that freak athlete, Russell Westbrook kind of strength, but he uses it exactly like Joey was saying for the quick steps, for the change of pace, for getting his body into defenders, and he never really plays above the rim. You mentioned some guys. I see a lot of Jalen Brunson in his game, and the Jalen Brunson can really get in the paint, get whatever shot he wants, but he's never even going to get his hands like even at the rim level. You know what I mean? Like he never gets up and plays above the rim, but he can do anything he wants on the offensive side of the court because he knows how to get to his spot, because he's strong and can keep defenders on his hip. He changes pace. He reads pick and rolls very well. I think Darius Acuff does a lot of those same things, and he's bigger than Brunson. So I think that type of player that can really just control an offense, like he dictates the game when the ball's in his hands. I'm really excited to have a guard like that, and hopefully he's the next in a long line of Calipari guards. You look down the list of guys that Calipari has recruited and put through to the NBA level, and it goes on forever. Just looking at the guards, the combo guards that he's put through. I mean, just recently you've got guys like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Jamal Murray and De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Maxey and all these guys. I mean, this Acuff is in that conversation. He's got every capability to be the next one of these guys. So that's so exciting that he's going to be wearing Razorback red next year. But for this season, I mentioned earlier we had our 9 guys that are kind of probably going to fill out the core rotation, but then Cal has filled out the remainder of the roster with some lower recruited, maybe lesser known guys, a couple of freshmen, a couple of lower level transfers, a D2 transfer. We're just going to run through those names really fast. I don't expect many of them to really make an impact this season. Doesn't mean they can't, but I would be surprised if any of them, became a true 10th man and saw consistent minutes. But Jaden Carletwa from Santa Clarita Christian High School in California. He's like 6'6", 6'5", kind of a skinny kid, but can really shoot the rock. So I think he'll be a pretty good practice piece. Melo Sanchez, 6'4" guard, D2 transfer from Hawaii Pacific, can really shoot the ball. If there was somebody that I thought might make an impact outside of our top 9, he has a strong case for it just because he can shoot it off the dribble, can shoot it coming off of screens. So if you need to put a guy in that you can just run sets for, he's the type of guy that can do it as long as you can live with what he brings defensively. And then Casimir Chavis is probably the next guy that I would say that has any chance to steal that final spot. Incoming freshman, 6'3". He was originally committed to Washington and then decommitted, but last year in high school averaged almost 24 points a game, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and the dude can fly, and he is fearless. If you watch his highlights, it's just straight dunks in the paint on big dudes, and he's 6'3", 180. So, I mean, kind of a similar frame to what we're talking about with Acuff coming in, but a little less talented of a scorer, but much more of an athlete. And so that, again, another great body to use in practice, and maybe a guy that can make an impact should there be foul trouble, should there be injury, something like that. I think he's a pretty good insurance policy as your 10th, 11th guy on the bench. Definitely not upset with that. And then you've got Aiden Kelly, who's coming in as a freshman. I think he's actually going to serve as a true walk-on. I don't really know. There's not a lot to find on him as far as research goes. And then Kareem Watkins was the most recent addition to the squad. He spent 4 years at Kentucky. He's a 5'8" guard. He's definitely just a Cal guy. I mean, I could definitely see him even as soon as this year, kind of taking on a grad assistant role to where he's kind of like a player development recruiter type of guy at the end of Calipari's bench as a coach for the next, 4 or 5 years. But that's kind of the role that he might be taking right now and then moving forward with it while he's still a grad transfer. Do you guys have any thoughts on any of these five guys that we've gotten so far coming in?
Yeah, I really like the idea of having good shooters for scout team primarily because I think everybody knows who Cal got beat by in the tournament last year. So I like that because when you have somebody who can just shoot, you don't, a lot of teams have those guys. A lot of teams have those guys. And they'll come in randomly and you know what they're there for. You know they're just sitting in the corner. They're not there for defense. They're going to shoot the ball. So it's good to have those guys on the scout team that he can toss in just randomly to get a three and chew the guys out. Look, find that guy, get a hand in his face, make sure he doesn't torch you for 12, you know? So I'm really happy about that. I really like the idea of Melo, especially I think you're right, Brandon. He can have an impact beyond just the scout team.
Yeah, and kind of in a similar vein, Cash, that kid's going to give, the starters a run for their money. He's, like you said, a freak of nature athletically. He's going to go and try to make the highlight play. Like Matt mentioned, that's just good to see in practice. You're always going to face those guys who are freak athletes and can go get a bucket when they need to. I think he's going to be a good offensive guy, and I could see him, getting tossed in on a few trips. Whenever there's foul trouble, same for Melo. I think Melo could be a good guy to throw in when you need a bucket, kind of opinion type guy. But yeah, really really like how this is rounded out. I know earlier we were talking about the fear of Cal only having 8 to 9 guys, and really pleasantly surprised with how it's kind of rounded out from where we were kind of worried about originally.
I'd feel a little bit better if we had an insurance policy at center as well, but
Yeah.
you've got three guys that are 6'10" or taller. You're just gonna have to live with what you got at this point. But real quick, I wanted to throw a name out too. That Arkansas is allegedly in the mix for another transfer who recently got a waiver, became eligible. I'm not sure exactly his situation, but David Coit from Northern Illinois, a 5'11" guard, averaged 21 points a game last year on 34% from three. John Rothstein tweeted that Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Villanova are all in the mix for Coit's services next season. But A&M and Nova both also have pretty full rosters. I'm pretty sure Nova's listed with 14 and A&M's listed with 13 right now from what I could find. But if anybody could make roster spots, make room for it. I mean, if Musselman could do it last year with Keon Minifield's non-scholarship red shirt, whatever magic he worked with that, we had 16 guys on the roster last year, and usually you only see 15. So if that, Lawson Blake is hurt with his Achilles, he's going to miss probably the whole season. If there's some way that Cal can compensate him, still make him part of the team in some way, but open up another walk-on spot, you never know. He could still be in the hunt to get another guy on this roster.
Brandon, do you realistically seeing a guy like Coit to get minutes with all of the guards that we have on the roster?
If he comes, yeah, I think he would be the fourth guard probably in the rotation, but you bump up guys. I think that means you play Billy Richmond and Carter Knox one position up from maybe where you have them right now. Maybe they're playing the 3 and the 4 more often. And then you've got a true guard rotation of Wagner, uh, Davis, Boogie, and David Coit, and so those are your 1 and 2 at all times on the court. And maybe he's the odd man out, and he only gets 12 minutes a game, where the other guys are getting 25 plus. But I mean, 21 points a game, even at a mid major on 35% shooting. I mean, that translates. I've watched a little bit of film on this guy, and he's just incredibly explosive, similar way that we were talking about how he's not getting up above the rim, but how quick he is with the ball in his hands. He can get his shot off over anybody. He gets really good elevation in the paint on his and floaters. Of course, he comes with some limitations. He's not immune to getting swallowed up by bigger defenders. Has some limitations defensively. Prone to having mismatches defensively. I'm not saying that he's going to come in and be like a high quality guy, but that kind of scoring, yeah, I definitely think he could push for minutes if he were to come here. But in the same vein, I still kind of wish that he was 6'11" instead of 5'11" because of what I just said earlier. We need some more insurance in the front court.
All right. I was just interested about I mean, I get the Watkins being a grad transfer and just following Cal pretty much, but we have gone after shorter guards, it seems like, especially like 5'11", 5'8". Those aren't heights you see in basketball much anymore. So it's interesting that we're going
Well,
after.
you even look at the last couple of years from K State. You got Tyler Perry, who was 6 foot or less. You have Noel, who was 5'10". No,
Yeah, Marquise Noel.
yeah,
Yeah.
Noel,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah, he's
um,
like 5'9". Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's
And you
not,
got even beyond that, Tyler Eulis played for Cal, five foot
yeah.
eight, 5'9", whatever. He's no stranger to having a small guard.
yeah.
What was his name? From LSU a couple years ago, was it Walters? Trey Walters? I don't remember his name. He was another little 5'8" kid from LSU that
Mhm.
small guards can run a college court on offense. There's no doubt about that. He might not translate to the next level, but he could run a college
I guess
offense.
that's like the interesting part because you're used to Cal just sending guys to the league, and
Right.
I guess we forget about the guys that he doesn't,
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
um, but yeah, I
That's
mean,
true.
like Brandon said, the 6'11" would be nice.
All right, we're going to take a quick break for some ads, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about some of these practice clips we've been seeing and what we like from those. But we will be right back.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 as we all get ready for the best month of the year, March Madness. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use the bonus code FIELD150 and you will get $150 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's the best part. All you need to do is deposit and bet $5 of your hard-earned money. This is how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD150. That's FIELD150. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $150 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD150 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available in one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in Philly or New York, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create a new account in each state. It's easy, it's simple, and it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the conference tournaments and for the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and my personal favorite, a nice little parlay boost here and there. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this. You get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot, the Autograph fandom app. But here's the best part. The more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider the level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast.
Okay. Practice clips are coming out. It's summer practice. It's summer ball. It's a bunch of brand new faces. It's John Calipari giving inspiring speeches on the court. I'm excited. It gets me fired up. I'm so ready for basketball season this year. Um, we're not going to go through every clip that's come out, but there are some things that have been in them that have stood out to me that I'm excited to see more of, that I maybe answer. And I say answer. It's hard to take anything too serious away from small clips of the players doing well. You don't know how much they're not doing well. You don't know how much goes behind all of that. I understand all that. But seeing them, execute certain plays, do certain things makes me excited, gives me hope for how they're going to play this coming season. And first and foremost, this team is going to be athletic as hell. I mean, every dude on this roster, from Thero to Boogie to DJ Wagner and Davis and Knox. I mean, all these dudes can fly it. Not to mention Brazil coming back, maybe another year removed from his knee injury. Do we see more of the pre-injury Brazil? It's going to be a lot of fun. The first clips that came out really made me laugh. That one of the first things we saw this summer was Thero dunking on Big Z, and then immediately followed by the team releasing a clip of Big Z blocking a Thero dunk attempt. And I think, iron sharpens iron. I thought that was kind of a cool little back and forth that they released on that. But then, we've gotten some longer clips of guys throwing lobs to each other, working on full court 3-point shooting drills. Just a lot of versatility on this team. One thing that has stood out to me, though, in some of the clips has been Boogie handling the ball and not necessarily scoring, but really finding guys for lobs or finding open shooters on the wing. I really think this team will be opened up in its potential depending on how good Boogie is as a facilitator, because we know he can score. And we know that Wagner, in theory, is a good facilitator. He did struggle a lot last year at Kentucky. He still averaged over 3 assists per game, but he did struggle to stay on the floor and stay consistent as a shooter. So if Boogie can come in and truly be a facilitator and a passer and a playmaker along with his scoring ability, the ceiling for this team just gets that much higher when you throw in a freshman that can do that kind of stuff. Um, what are your guys' thoughts on Boogie being able to do that, and on what I was mentioning earlier, just the general athleticism of this team that we've seen so far?
Yeah, I was excited to see a lot of the facilitation from Boogie. I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they had like an interview with Boogie, and he mentioned how he wants to be whatever they need him to be, pretty much. Where he mentioned being a facilitator, and I'm excited for that because I know what he can do on offense. We've seen what he can do on offense, but like I mentioned with Acuff, it's what you can do outside of what you did in high school. College is a different game. So I like to see that he is somewhat translating pretty well over to a team that doesn't need him to score every point or doesn't need him to have the ball in his hands. So we've seen what Cal can do with a guy coming off the bench. Booker, Reed Shepherd came off the bench.
Billingham last year too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see these guys, what he can do with these guys. I don't think I'm concerned wherever he plays, whether he starts, whether he comes off the bench. I think he's going to be a very crucial part. And those videos, I know they're the good that we're seeing the good stuff, but do show that he is capable of more than just what we saw in the highlights of him scoring, shooting, floaters, whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of from the start, I haven't been fully sold on Boogie. Not to say he's not a great player. I think he's tremendous. I am concerned about the passing and facilitating the offense and whatnot. Matt, I completely agree with what you're saying. I would love to see him in like a sixth man role. Similar to like how we've seen Battle and other guys that, Cal has coached, coming off the bench and just being that spark plug. I think we've got some tremendous guards on the roster. I think Wagner's a starting caliber guy. Nelly's obviously a starting caliber guy. Knox, is a 2 to 3. I would love to see Wagner because we know that he's a facilitator. We know that he can pass the ball, like you said, Brandon, averaging over 3 assists a game last season. I want someone like that to come out the gate, and then a guy like Boogie to come and be like our guy to come in and get us buckets. It is great to see that he seems to be taking on kind of that facilitator role. That will definitely get him more minutes with all of the different scorers that we have on this roster. Like we've got I've mentioned Knox, who's a guy that can potentially put up 15, 20 a game. We've got Nelly, who's a guy who can put up 15, 20, 25 a game. We've just got so many guys who can put up double digits. We need that facilitator. So the sooner that he's able to kind of get in the rhythm of the college game, and I mean, it's a big jump from high school to college, and being a contributor in that realm. So, not to say that he can't. I think he's incredibly capable of it. I'm hesitant to be all in on someone we haven't seen in a college game yet.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And I think you're exactly right. One of the things that I've kind of feel myself too is that this team will, I say this lightly or loosely because I think that Nelly is going to be probably the leading scorer. You've got returning guys that are experienced that are going to lead this team, but I think that their ceiling and how far they can actually go will be determined by how ready Boogie and Knox are coming in from the jump, right? If they both come in, if Boogie comes in as any sort of facilitator, and if both of them can come in as shooters and as scorers, that takes this team to a whole new level if they're ready to contribute right away. If
100%.
if they're not ready right away, they can still get there and this team can still be good, can still be fine. But if you get Boogie and Knox coming in both ready to give you double digits on any given night, along with the returning experience and leadership of this team, I think that's when they become really dangerous. So, you're relying on freshmen, but you're also relying on Calipari recruited freshmen, which has been a winning formula at times. And I think that there's enough leadership on this team to avoid some of the issues we've seen with teams that are too young in Kentucky in the past when you have too
Yeah.
many freshmen.
I mean, I definitely think this is a completely different Calipari team than we've ever seen.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, just with the transfers alone, we hit the transfer portal. Well, he had to.
Yeah.
He had to. But I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have as many just freshmen as you would see at Kentucky because he kind of figured out, look, that's maybe not the way anymore. We've got guys that are staying because they're getting paid more, things like that. I mean, I'd rather stay in college and have a chance to go round one where I'm actually signing a good contract with the team than going and signing a two-way with
And
the team.
and this is where I really think like Cal's a Hall of Fame coach. He's there. He's built his legacy. But I think that this is a season that can define how great of a coach he is. Because Brandon, I can't remember if it was you who sent it a couple weeks ago, but you sent us a clip of Cal saying, I can go and get a player that's committed to your team. I can sign whatever freshman I want. But like you said, Matt, his teams consistently consist of 7, 8 freshmen, and this year is completely different. So just to see how he transitions into kind of this new style of play and how far he's able to take a roster like this will be a testament to his coaching ability and how that he is a Hall of Fame coach and can do it.
Yeah, I mean you've got a Final Four MVP type producer. You've got an All SEC defensive big man first team. You've got a returning projected first round draft pick at one point in time in Trevin Brazil. You've got 3 role players that played together on last year's Kentucky team. I mean, it's not just a group of freshmen that are coming here. You know what I mean? You've got the talent, you've got the experience.
Yeah.
So
I want to read a quick snippet of that quote. You can spend your whole life recruiting a kid, and at the end of the day, if I want him, I'll get him.
That's the one. That's the one.
That is absolutely cold.
That's our coach, ladies and gentlemen.
He's not in the mafia. I think he is the mafia.
He is.
So,
all right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Real quick before we move on, I know we're limited on time, but just quick, you're starting 6, Brandon and Matt. Like, who do you have right now? Now that we're a little more solidified in our roster,
6 or true starting 5?
Well, let's see. I want to hear 6. I want to hear who you have at your 6-man spot.
I think mine is still Boogie, but I've got 7 guys that I think are competing for it. And right now I would go Wagner and David is still in the guard spots. And then the forwards is still kind of where I'm up in the air. But I think currently, I think I might go Knox and Thero and have Adu at the position. And you bring Brazil off the bench with Big Z, with Boogie, with whoever else, Richmond, whoever else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Wagner, uh, Nelly, then Knox, and I'm actually going to go Brazil and then Adu, and then Boogie as our six man.
Okay. Yeah. Solid.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to come back and real quick kind of go through where all of the Pro Hogs sit after another wild NBA offseason. But we will be right back. All right. NBA offseason, free agency, somewhat coming to a close. There's still some pending moves maybe to be made, some free agents to be signed. For the most part, though, we have a pretty good idea of where everyone's going to be, where everyone kind of sits. So let's just jump right into it. Patrick Beverley has reportedly signed a historic deal to play in Israel. Probably just as much for publicity on his podcast as it is for any other reason, but that's okay. Good for him. Go make that money. Go do your thing. Go do your podcast. Happy for Pat Bev. But that was kind of a funny storyline as it came out, but he's a weird guy, so
Yeah.
he'll do you, Pat. Ricky Council stayed with Philly, and Philly kind of went full fire sale on their roster to bring in Paul George this summer, which, you might think maybe hinders Council's ability to get on the court, but truthfully, they sent out a lot of their players. Like, they don't really have a lot of players left on their roster capable of being like rotation level players. So I think Ricky actually has a great chance to actually be a true bench contributor on this team. I think he could crack the top 10, top 9 on this roster. I think they've only got like 12 guys total right now, and I think he is currently in the top 10. But I think he's got a pretty good shot there after he's really impressed in the G League and again in Summer League this season. And he's earned a full contract. He's no longer on a two-way deal. He's on a real full-time NBA contract. So I think that he has a shot to really play in Philly this year.
Yeah.
Earlier in the offseason, the Bucks kind of came out and said that they were looking to maybe retool some of their key pieces, quote unquote. And that means Bobby Portis, because he would be one of the key pieces that's expendable, who's not named Damian Lillard or Giannis Antetokounmpo. But since then, it's kind of been quiet. They haven't really made any moves with Bobby. I don't really expect them to ship him out. And then Stanley Amude actually also signed a two-way with the Bucks. So Milwaukee just continues to be Fayetteville North with all of the former Razorbacks dating all the way back to guys like Sidney Moncrief. So
Yeah, I'd be shocked if they ship out, Bobby's been in the top 3 for six man of the year voting for the last 2 years. So you can't get rid of a guy who's competing for a six man of the year spot, really.
And a fan favorite and
Yeah.
glue guy.
Bobby.
Yeah.
All right. Jalen Williams might be one of the biggest, I'd say, losers of the offseason, just in the sense that Oklahoma City sent out one guard and got back a better guard and a big man. They brought in Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso. And at this point, at best, I think Jay Will might be the 10th best player on this team in terms of the rotation, and that's not a guarantee. I think you've got 9 guys comfortably in the rotation ahead of him. They had Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, who we're about to talk about, both signed big contracts, bigger contracts this offseason. They paid them to keep them. And those were probably the next 2 guys right in front of Jay Will. So if Hartenstein starts alongside Chet, I think that Jay Will stands a good shot to still be that backup center. But if they decide to start Chet at center and bring Hart off the bench, I don't know if Jay Will really has a place in that rotation at that point when the team is fully healthy. There will be plenty of games where they're not fully healthy and he will get his minutes. He's still very beloved there, but I worry that he might have lost a lot of his rotation minutes with these new additions this offseason. But speaking of, Isaiah Joe got a 4-year, $48 million deal to stay with the Thunder. It's crazy that a couple seasons ago, the Sixers just waived him for nothing. And now he's truly like a staple in their rotation. I mean, maybe not quite competing for six man of the year, but he's one of the like lineups with him on the court have a better plus minus than most other lineups in the NBA right now. I mean, he's just a true difference maker, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But I love seeing these guys stay with the Thunder. They're definitely one of my favorite teams right now, whether or not there are Razorbacks there. But having 2 guys there, 2 beloved Razorbacks in Oklahoma City is still really cool. I love that they both stayed. It does. Yeah, they're a likable squad. Anthony Black is kind of still in rotation limbo. The Magic lost Markel Fultz. Well, technically he hasn't signed anywhere yet, but it doesn't look like they're going to bring him back. And they lost Joe Ingles, but they brought in Kentavious Caldwell Pope, who instantly slots in as their starting shooting guard. So AB kind of is maybe the backup shooting guard, backup point guard alongside Cole Anthony, probably. But they did bring back Gary Harris, so he's probably still going to be fighting for minutes as he continues to improve his jump shot. But I think they really like him there. I think he'll have his shot this season to earn his minutes and everything. But Jordan Walsh really didn't get any breaks with the draft or free agency. The Celtics didn't really do anything. I think his best shot at minutes is if there's any fatigue for guys like Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White after playing both through the NBA Finals and in the Olympics. Maybe they need some rest to start the season. Maybe Jordan Walsh gets an opportunity to earn some minutes there. Nick Smith Jr., on the other hand, his situation got even worse. The Hornets brought back Seth Curry. They got Josh Green in a trade, who plays shooting guard on the wing. Still have LaMelo, still have Trey Mann, still have Brandon Miller, still have they have a bunch of guards. And Nick Smith can be in the rotation. He's a young guy, maybe part of their rebuild, but the path to minutes is not easy in Charlotte right now for him. So he's still there, still has an opportunity, but his situation did not get any easier this summer. And then lastly, Moses Moody, his situation hasn't changed a lot. Klay Thompson is gone, so maybe opens up some minutes for him. But they did bring in guys like, I think, DeAnthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, brought in some guys that are going to be rotation players. He's been in trade rumors all summer, just like he is all the time. There's still rumors the Warriors are trying to go get Lauri Markkanen. If that's the case, maybe Moses Moody plays for the Jazz this year. Or maybe the Warriors trade enough players to get Markkanen that Moody then has to be in their rotation, whether or not Steve Kerr wants him to be. But anyways, all right. So that's kind of a quick run through of all the guys in the NBA right now. You guys have any last thoughts on these guys?
Nope, you covered it.
Yep, I think we're good.
Well, congrats to all our pro hogs that signed new deals, stayed with their teams. Very happy and love getting to watch them continue to grow and develop. I still love that there's 12 guys. We've still got Daniel Gafford didn't have any movement really with Dallas, and Mason Jones, I think, is still on a two-way with the Kings. I know he was playing for their summer league team, but it's really cool to see that many guys in the league from Arkansas, and that number is just going to grow with Calipari here.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But that's all we've got today. Appreciate you tuning in to talk some Razorback hoops with us. We're still a long way from the season starting, but the excitement has not dulled. Still very excited for the new coach and the new roster. Reminder, we are brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your stuff at. Thank you again for joining us to talk some Razorback basketball. And as always,